Hello, welcome to the HolmFront, where we keep everything objectively subjective. I'm Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is Mitch, my overly artistic friend. So, by the thumbnail, you've probably already discovered that we're going to go over something inherently political, and I've been trying to follow this a little bit, but the Daily Wire, which is a political commentary company that hosts people like Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, and the like, and had Candace Owens for a while. If you want to get into that discussion, they had a previous CEO. I'll just preface this really quick, and then we'll get into the trailer.
Okay.
They had a previous CEO, Jeremy Boring, who apparently had a lot of classical.
Boring.
He
And
had
he's
some.
in charge of creative works.
He well, he was in charge of the whole thing, but he I guess went and practiced to become an actor, and that was what his passion was. So initially,
Well, as long as he's not boring.
So initially, he and Ben Shapiro started the company, and they had the roles reversed. Ben Shapiro was not supposed to be the commentator; it was supposed to be Boring. He thought, "I've had the actors training, all this kind of stuff, so I'll be the face. I'll be the one that's
Maybe
up
I
front."
thought he wouldn't be interesting.
I know, seriously, with a name like that. So Ben Shapiro ended up being the one that everybody latched onto. But so he was the CEO. Then he had this whole big debacle where he stepped down or was fired. No one really knew. The rumor that everyone finally settled on was that he stepped aside to work on his creative projects, which this is the foremost. He did a movie or two for Daily Wire. One was like Lady Ballers or something, which was not a very good movie. And then there's this that was announced, which is
what about? Weren't they doing a Snow White movie? Whatever happened to that?
I don't know. They made the announcement, which I wonder if it was just to leverage Disney into making a decision to change their Snow White from the garbage that it was going to be, which it still was anyway. But what happened was there was a bunch of stuff coming out, about the Disney Snow White, the live action trailer, because Rachel Zegler kept talking.
Right.
And so Daily Wire, I think, just released that teaser. And then because of how much attention that got, it made Disney realize that people are more interested in seeing a traditional retelling than they are in the Disney version. Then I think a bunch of stuff happened. Apparently Daily Wire was struggling with some money or something for all the creative projects because how expensive they were. And you'll see from this trailer, looks like they put a bunch of money into this thing.
Okay.
But when he stepped aside, I think they kept him in charge of this project because I think this was his pet project. So all that to say, they finally released a trailer. It was supposed to be, I think, last year that this was supposed to come out. Now, I think you said you've read this book, right?
If it's what I'm thinking it is, yes.
So there's it's called the Pendragon Cycle by Stephen R. Lawhead. I've only read the Robin Hood series from Lawhead myself, but I like him as an author. I've not read the Pendragon Cycle, but I think it's like 3 or 4 or 5 books, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he took that, and it's an Arthurian legend that he wanted to adapt for film, for a TV show. So we now have a trailer for the first one.
Okay.
And we're going to go over that.
Yeah, let's just watch the trailer, and I can see if it's at all what I'm thinking it is. Part of me is hesitant now because it just doesn't sound anything like what I read.
Illusion.
Sure.
An echo of a voice that has died.
Oh my gosh.
And soon that echo will cease.
So we've got a Daenerys wannabe right off the bat. I will say this looks like classic fantasy. I like that.
They say that Merlin is mad.
There's no Merlin.
Yeah, there is. It's an Arthurian
They
legend.
say he was a king in Dyfed,
Not in Pendragon, there is.
son of a princess of lost Atlantis. They say the future and the past are known to him. That the fire and the wind
Looks
tell
very
him
Last
their
Kingdom-ish.
secrets.
Yeah.
The magic of the hill folk and druids come forth
awesome.
at his easy command. They say he slew hundreds.
So this is about Merlin?
That the world burned and trembled at his wrath.
I think the first book is, or something. Like I said, I've got to read them.
The Merlin died long before you and I were born.
And is Merlin
Merlin
carrying
Emrys
Excalibur?
Has returned to the land of the living.
Vortigern is gone.
That looked like a Last Kingdom
Rome is
shot, that
gone.
castle on the hill.
It did.
The Saxons.
Maybe it's the same set.
here.
Saxon Hengist has assembled the greatest war host ever seen in the Island of the Mighty.
Wow.
And before the summer is through, he means to take the throne.
So is this just a historical epic with a little bit of magic.
If we are too busy squabbling amongst
Looks like
ourselves
it's
to take up arms
leaning
against
that
him,
way.
here
They
is
mentioned
your
Rome.
A king will arise.
They do
to
mention
hold
Atlantis,
all
too.
Britain in his hand. A high king who will be
Ugh,
the wonder
I don't
of
like the
world.
lighting when it's brightly lit.
Right.
You
That guy looks cool.
Yeah, he does.
Spooky
future
looking.
of peace.
There'll
Oh,
be no peace in these lands till we
that was
open
Brett
the dust.
Cooper.
Men of the island of the mighty.
Can
you
she
stand
act?
Together.
I don't know.
Guess we'll find it.
Stand
Maybe she could
Britain.
talk at a reasonable pace.
Stand as one.
If she could do that, I'll call it a win. I'm not gonna complain any further.
Darkness is
Oh, that was
falling
awesome.
upon this land.
That was cool. What happened to that guy?
These brothers are our only hope to stand against it.
Not our only hope.
They say Merlin slew 70 men with his
I'm
own
not a
hands.
huge fan of the sword style, I'll say
Because
that.
he slew
It's so classical,
It is, that's fair.
but it doesn't fit the brutal
Yeah.
world that he's in.
All right.
So I don't know. I don't know what the hell this is. It's not. It must be something different that I read because it's nothing like the book.
Okay, so I mean, there's plenty
Zero.
of versions of the Pendragon legend, so I'm
Evidently so.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
But
so,
this one the one I read had nothing to do with King Arthur.
Oh.
It was not an Arthurian legend thing at all.
Oh. Okay. So you didn't read this then, for sure.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Mine was what I was thinking of when you mentioned it. It's about this kid who gets sucked into a flume and then ends up in this other world where he has to like do a white savior narrative kind of thing.
Oh yeah. No.
But then it also like kind of critiques those. Well, it doesn't critique them, but it kind of makes fun of them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then there's also like his friends in the real world exchanging letters with him.
Oh.
And it's called Pendragon. Exactly. So who ripped off who? Now I want to know. I was led astray.
Pendragon has always been part of the Arthurian legend, so Arthur Pendragon is his name.
Sure.
So so this is the Lawhead thing. So all
Okay.
that aside, what do you think of the trailer?
It was too long.
True.
And said too much that I couldn't keep up.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really know what it's about. It just looked like medieval fantasy nonsense with some slight Merlin stuff, which didn't fit because it was so like brutal and people like screaming and stabbing each other. I was like, that's like a Last Kingdom thing or Game of Thrones. And this was like, yeah, but Merlin's in it. Classic Merlin. And I
But-
was like,
But I mean,
well, he seems kind of goofy now. If you wanted serious Merlin, we could talk about that. But you gave him, like you said, that sword is, I thought it's awesome looking, but it just doesn't fit at all
It
the rest of
fits
the world he's in.
like a classic like 80s fantasy, and then
Yeah.
they're going with the brutal, modern day thing. Okay. I mean, altogether, production value and like the style looks like it could be interesting. Looks like it could be good. I liked the look of the Daenerys wannabe, so I'm wondering if she has a cool narrative just because they have a lot of good source material in Game of Thrones. But I don't know. Because I've seen some of the Daily Wire material, the creative stuff.
Yeah.
Not that great. At least in the creative realm. But this seems like it's totally trying to go in like an HBO direction.
Mm-hmm.
So
is this a political show somehow?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is just a creative project. It's just like Last Kingdom on Netflix. That's it.
Okay.
But that's the thing is Daily Wire is a political, entity.
Yes.
But I imagine if you're looking at it like, Fox or something, it has like its news unit and then it has 21st Century Fox or something. Like I imagine that they're trying to do something like that. But
Wait a minute. Is Fox News and 20th Century Fox the same entity?
I would assume they were because they're the same name.
But 20th Century, so I assume that was...
Yeah, but I think that would be maybe I'm wrong on that. So I'd have to look into how they actually
Oh.
separate that entity. But I thought that they were.
I don't think so, but I don't know enough about them.
Sure. But then, okay, well, Disney is a good example then, and it owns it anyway. But, you have the Disney, like, entity that owns, like, Disney property, but then it owns stuff like ABC that does news. 'Cause
Yeah.
that is Disney. Always has been. So.
A part of me wants to say that it's weird for a political show to make something that's just meant to be for entertainment purposes. But then you look at all our news sources that make nothing but They just sort of harvest things that happen in the world, sometimes small things, sometimes big things, and then use it for entertainment because they're
Yeah.
very choosy about what they report on, and they're very choosy about how they report on it.
Well, I think with this, because they had a whole, what was it called? Bent Key. And Bent Key was a Daily Wire property, but it was specifically for kids. And I think it's still part of Daily Wire Plus or
Okay.
something. But it's basically a series of kids shows, little animated things, but it's for a really young audience. And their whole spiel was because we're conservative and we have conservative values, these won't have any left-leaning propaganda that will be in it. So you can essentially let your kids watch it and it's going to be safe. Like that was like their promise. So he's now, I
That's the thing
think,
now, yeah.
trying to push further into the entertainment world and say, I'm going to push this without any of this propagandistic stuff that Hollywood's got and
Yeah.
try and separate myself. So I think he's just trying to do a creative project. It's
Gotcha.
just creative for the sake of creativity.
Well, that's cool.
Well, it looks like it could be.
Yeah, well, I just mean like, I just don't think creative projects need to have as much of a political lean as they so often do.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see if this one, how it's able to toe the line.
Sure. Yeah, if it
Mhm.
passes the creative sniff test, as it were. Like, does this stand on its own well enough without, the presuppositions? Because if you're going to have that, that's the one problem that something like this has, that crest that it has to get over, is that you're going to hedge out your audience because, for one, it's on Daily Wire Plus, so you've got to have that subscription. And you're going to have a lot of people who don't support Daily Wire that, aren't going to get a subscription to see this.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
audience is basically baked into the pie already.
Yeah.
So it's really tough, but at the same time, it might expand its audience for those who don't want any political influence that might be conservative leaning. They're like, well, I don't really care about what someone like Ben Shapiro has to say, but I do care about these creative projects and maybe I want to support that. And so they'll
Sure.
jump in just to support that aspect if there's enough there. But once you finish the first season of Pendragon, so they're going to have to like pull in enough of an audience to justify its cost in order to be able to make more and solidify that audience.
That seems like a steep uphill battle.
Exactly. Because the other thing that you have to
Jumping
contend
into
with,
the streaming wars now.
right?
Good luck.
But they do have that edge that this is unique. It's not like a Tubi or something that's coming out. Like this is someone established already, so it has it has a big budget, or
Mhm.
it could because it makes a bunch of money. The other thing is that it is separate, and so because it already like stands apart, it might have more of a chance because it's not just going to get flooded in with the other streaming services.
Oh, I see what
Do
you're
you see
saying.
what I mean?
Yeah, it won't get drowned out when
Right.
it releases because, Stranger
it's already
Things is
unique.
dominating in Netflix. And
Right.
so if you have a new Netflix show, it's like too bad kind of thing.
Right. So
Yeah.
it has either a chance of just retaining the audience that's already there or potentially pulling in others that might not already be interested in something like Daily Wire. So it's a big uphill because the last
Yeah.
thing and probably the most important thing that it has to deal with is quality. Because,
Yeah.
historically something like this where it comes from, a specific orientation, I guess you could say, because of their like political leaning and that being the reason that they're making this show, inherently things like quality tend to be overlooked. And so you're not going to have the level of quality that HBO can give to a Game of Thrones because it's inherently expensive. Like
Mhm.
they're not a streaming service. And so them delegating a bunch of funds to making this look good, it's going to be less interesting to them than putting into another personality that can explode like a Ben Shapiro, Micah Knowles or something. And so inherently that quality it's going to be a hump for them to get over.
Hmm.
Does that all make sense?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, although I would argue that even like Game of Thrones seasons 1 and 2, especially 1,
Mhm.
the budget was not very good.
No.
It was the bare minimum. They did a nice job making it palatable.
Yeah.
But it was clear that there was like, got some rough edges, and we can all see that.
Right.
But that's not the worst thing in the world because it grows and then it was doing well, so they can fund more money into it, and so you can do more.
I will say, from what I'm seeing, quality looks decent. You're right on the brightly lit stuff. It looks a little bit too.
I was like, ooh, scale that
darken
down.
it down. It's because it's like
It looked too
medieval
real.
England. When is it bright like that? Just darken everything up. Just watch Last Kingdom. There you go. Get
Yeah,
that color
exactly.
palette. You're fine.
Yeah. Because Last Kingdom, I don't think had the biggest budget either, but I thought they worked really well with what they had.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but they scaled really well too.
Mm-hmm.
Kept it really low scale in the beginning, and then progressed up with like larger numbers of armies or like better armor or whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't as concerned about that early on.
It is amazing to me that show is as good as it is because I feel like it just had this impossible hurdle of trying to outbeat Game of Thrones as everything else was trying to do. But I also feel like Last Kingdom was the one show to do it. Like
Do it effectively, yes, quality-wise.
Yes, the quality was there. The writing was certainly there.
But that's because they had good source material.
Yeah,
Fair,
the
so.
source material is great. Yeah, and then they had the acting caliber, especially for the guy who played Alfred.
Yes.
He really carried it for a while. So,
Agreed. So yeah, if they have something like this where, I mean, it's got to be someone. I would argue that so from what I understand, the blonde is Merlin's mom. She's Atlantean or something, is what I'm getting. I haven't read the books. Cool. It is cool. So if she's able to carry that narrative, especially in the beginning, and then if Merlin's able to handle his portion, I think they'll be okay. Like if those two actors can carry those performances exceptionally well, then Merlin specifically, especially because it's kind of centered around him. But
so is the premise? So Pendragon, who's Arthur Pendragon? Who's this?
King Arthur.
That's King Arthur.
That is King Arthur. So
we say King. Oh, and then his first name. Oh, yes, because it's like King George or whatever.
Oh.
Okay, so King Arthur Pendragon, is he in this then? Since it's called Pendragon, he must be the main character, right? Or no?
Well, I think I have not read them.
Okay,
but just judging by the titles, it seems like he does kind of this arc over multiple books, and I think he starts with Merlin and then he fades into Arthur, because there are multiple parts to the legend as well. You have Arthur, and then you have the deal with Lancelot, and then you have the deal with Mordred and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it spans those. But again, I have to read them to understand completely.
Many versions of this story.
Well, it's the legend. I mean, it's lasted for thousands of years at this point. So
yeah, there's never been like a definitive story, or maybe I just haven't looked into it.
There are definitive lines, but yeah, because you have like the Holy Grail thing, and then him fighting a dragon, and the Lancelot Guinevere narrative.
An equivalent to, let's say, what would be the example? Like the Brothers Grimm. Like we just kind of accept them as a lot of their iterations of the story being like the kind of de facto one,
even though they just compile things. Yeah,
right. And then you get the nerdy ones who are just like, well, actually, in the original,
right?
And it's like, okay, sure. If I want to dig that deep into it, it's like I just want the baseline.
Sure.
Like, what is the story?
Just the essence.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think of it this way, like think of Batman. Like, if you were to walk up to somebody on the street and say, "What's Batman's origin story?"
Yeah,
everyone's gonna tell you the same thing. They're gonna say, "Well, he went to the theater when he was a boy, and then on the way out, they left early, and then some mugger came up and killed both of his parents, and this is what scars him and sends him on a path to become a heart of vengeance for Gotham City.
Yeah,
and to become a symbol of fear against crime." So it's like, all right, everybody has that. No matter how many Batman movies you do or don't watch, everybody knows that. It would just be nice if someone could do that for King Arthur. Someone probably has. Whatever they are, why don't you just listen in the comments so I can go look at it, and just that way I could know.
And this is
because I just want to know, like, just the starting place of like, what's King Arthur? Because I watched that King Arthur movie with Clive Owen, and then everyone got mad at me when I saw it because they were just like, well, it's not accurate, and I was like, well, I'm just trying to understand Arthur a little bit.
And that one is trying to lean more like historically accurate rather than legend based. But then you have movies like Excalibur, which are it's a terrible movie. Terrible movie. It's so
pretty
bad.
It has some horrifying implications that it thinks is okay.
Yeah, it's like, this is fine, right? I was like, no. No.
Not appropriate, not good. Why is this implied in any way?
So dark.
Weird. That one tries to play it up like it's a Shakespeare thing.
Yes.
And so it gets really dramatic, and you're like, what is going on?
It's a strange film. Yeah, maybe we'll do that one at some point, because that was a tough one to get through. I think the first time I saw it was with you.
Yeah.
But that was another Arthurian legend thing that definitely was pushing some lines. So,
yeah.
And then you have stuff like Monty Python, which I thought got most correct.
Of course, naturally. So
I fought in your general direction.
Mel Brooks's the definitive version. His Robin Hood too, exactly true to form. Exactly.
Perfect. Men in
It's
Tights.
the most accurate. Yes.
Well, I think we'll watch it and we'll get back to.
Yeah, I'll give it at least certainly a sample.
Yeah, do a couple episodes maybe.
Sure.
3-episode arc and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think overall it looks interesting. Maybe I'll read the books and see how they did. But
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's our Daily Wire. I think this will be the last video we release before the Christmas season. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. We'll be back in January, and we will be talking about Stranger Things and all of the joy or not that we go through from that.
All the feels.
All the feels. So,
We'll be there for the feels.
yep. See you guys next time. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.